Going into the Fallout series, my expectations were sort of mixed. I've never really played any of the games. I jumped into Fallout 3 a little bit, but it was such a long time ago and just such a brief stint that it didn't really leave any sort of impression on me. That being said, I have many friends whose knowledge and opinions on games that I find reliable tell me that those games are great and the lore is very rich. So, I had hope it would be good. But I also had concerns about the show's accessibility to a general audience since I wasn't very familiar with the source material. And we've also all seen how video game adaptations have fared since their inception, and it's ranged anywhere from downright awful to just pretty good. So there was a lot to consider. Now, I can't speak on the show's dedication to the source material itself, but what I can say is that what I watched, I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend if you haven't. And if you're new here, go check out the channel. I've done a bunch of reviews and retrospectives already, so let me know what you think. Alright, let's dive into Fallout. This show is outrageous, in a good way. We follow three main stories. Lucy, a vault dweller of Vault 33, a young woman who was raised underground in a technologically advanced vault designed by Vault-Tec, who has been taught a very specific and one-sided history of the nuclear event that created the world she knows, as well as the state of the world outside of the vault. Cooper Howard, a former high-profile actor and husband of high-ranking Vault-Tec executive Barb Howard. He has survived the past 200 years after the quote-unquote Great War as a ghoul, a person whose appearance has been severely altered due to their prolonged radiation exposure. He operates on the surface world, or wasteland as it's referred to in the series, as a feared bounty hunter searching for his wife and daughter. And lastly, we follow Maximus, a young squire turned knight within the Brotherhood of Steel, a quasi-religious cult whose mission is to gather and preserve technology for their own gain. All three characters' storylines intersect, leading them into conflict and ultimately cooperation with each other. Of the three main storylines, as well as the three main characters, I found Maximus's narrative and his character the least interesting of the three. I don't have very many negative criticisms of this first season, but this was definitely my biggest drawback. I just don't think the Brotherhood of Steel thread is very compelling. It's probably because compared to the amount of depths we go into regarding the background and history of Vault-Tec and how it influenced both Lucy and Cooper's narratives, we don't really get much information about the Brotherhood of Steel comparatively. They will probably expand on the Brotherhood in future seasons, no doubt, but what we do get in Season 1, they don't really elaborate upon what they do, what they're about, or any of their goals or motivations for this new world. We know they send their knights out to assassinate high-value targets, hence Maximus's storyline, as he's sent on a mission with a knight to apprehend and kill Dr. Wilzig. But that's about as much information as we get. I also don't think Aaron Moten's acting abilities, who portrays Max, stack up anywhere close to Ella Purnell or Walton Goggins, who are both just electric in this show. Walton Goggins is good in everything he's in, and I wish he would get cast more as a lead in high-profile productions because he's fantastic in this, and he basically plays two different characters. We see him as a successful Western actor in flashbacks. As mentioned earlier, he is married to a Vault-Tec executive who he shares a daughter with. He lives the basic American dream, a loving father and husband, a successful career, a beautiful home, and a great outlook on life in general. It's not until we discover that his wife Barb is involved in orchestrating the nuclear catastrophe along with her colleagues, for profit and the ability to create the world under the rule that they see fit. In the present, he's a ruthless, callous, cynical, scarred bounty hunter. He executes both roles excellently. Episode 6 even opens with an ad that he does for Vault-Tec, and it is so reminiscent of an old 60s television ad for new appliances, and it is just amazing. Then there's Ella Purnell as Lucy, who is also just incredible in this series. I wasn't familiar with her work, and she really impressed me. Seeing her transition from this optimistic, curious vault dweller, walking through life with this manufactured lens of how the world works, and then finally leaving her vault to find her kidnapped father, she's excited to finally get to experience the wasteland and discover new and incredible things that she's never seen before, which quickly turns into utter disdain for the outside world due to her experiences and the horrific things she witnesses. It's pretty hilarious, and she nails the part so well. Her attitude in the finale is such a stark difference from where she began at the beginning of season 1. And on top of that, the moment you see her attitude and personality flip in an instant after her father's true nature is revealed and the work he did with Vault-Tec is unraveled. And Purnell makes this transition seamlessly. The most surprising aspect of this show is that it's genuinely comical. Not in like a parodistic type of way, but the way the characters interact with their environment, situations, and each other in this show is just so humorous. If you think about it, existing in a post-apocalyptic environment where everything is just batshit crazy, there are no laws, and especially for someone like Lucy and the other vault dwellers who are so accustomed to their world, you would need to have some sort of sense of humor to deal with all of the trauma that they experience. And all of the comedy is so organic too. None of it feels cheesy or forced, and it was such a welcome surprise. There are so many great aspects to this series. The action is fun, distinctive, and well choreographed. All of the character designs are top notch, most specifically the knight armor, as well as some of the creatures we see who have been genetically altered by the radiation. The set designs within the vaults themselves and the environments outside of the vaults are all so beautifully constructed. You can tell Amazon didn't cut corners with this show. But I think my favorite aspect as a whole is the overall feel and aesthetic of this series. If you're at all familiar with the games, you know that they have this sort of chipper, retro alternative 60s nostalgia that envelopes the series. And that holds true with this show, and it's the best part. You really see it in the design of the vaults, the outfits, even in the decimated towns inside the wasteland. There are signs, buildings, etc. that are left over from this nuclear event that still harken back to that sort of aesthetic, and you feel it. And I think that aesthetic only helps elevate this show, because I think sometimes with these movies or series that are set in these post-apocalyptic landscapes can oftentimes feel dreary or depressing, and it may not make the viewer want to return. But the world that they constructed in Fallout, that's a world I'm excited to return to, and I honestly cannot wait for Season 2. I'm anxious to discover more about the inner workings of Vault-Tec and the role they played on creating this current state of the world, and it looks like we're headed to New Vegas in Season 2. And from everything I've been told, New Vegas is regarded as the best game in the series, and who knows if Season 2 can match those highs, but with the way Season 1 turned out, I think we're in good shape. All we have to pray for is that Jonathan Nolan doesn't fuck this series up like he did with Westworld. Let's hope not.